Catch up on previous parts by clicking the playlist, linked in the description. Taking down the decorations in her room, Utage recalled Tamon's spectacular performance the other day. Although he couldn't take the center spot, the crowd went wild after their performance. In the end, Tamon gained a ridiculous amount of fans, and Auri established himself as the eternal bridesmaid. Utage was so proud of Tamon for pulling through in the end. She thought he was a god who evolved. She would then take her dog Pochi for a walk. Sensing something, Pochi led her all the way to Tamon's place. Looking up, she saw Tamon standing at the edge of the roof. Not on her watch. In 15 seconds, she ran all the way to the roof and tossed him backward. How could he put his precious body in danger like that? He didn't see any reason to live anymore. If he disappeared, he'd stop suffering. He wanted to isekai and become a creature that made people happy by just existing, like a hamster. Utage told him to calm down. Life for a hamster wasn't easy either. They had to spin their wheel and struggle to peel sunflower seeds. Tamon thought things were hopeless no matter what then. Shortly after, she gave him a drink and calmed him down a little. Filled with guilt, Tamon felt bad about not becoming the center. Even though he received so much support, he messed up the 5th round badly. More than anything, he wanted to sing that song as the center. Utage would try to lift his spirits, letting him know that his performance was amazing. It was burned into their brains. And no matter what, he'd always be smack dab in the center of the hearts of his fans. Not to mention, he had gained an insane amount of fans since then, and the old school fans were all happy that he leveled up. Caring more about what she thought, Tamon asked how she felt. Although she told him that she felt the same way as his fans, he was upset at the fact that she was cheering for Auri too. They seemed very friendly, and before he knew it, she was going to his house. And this made him fear she had become Auri's fan. Unable to hear him clearly, she told him to spit out all that was in his heart until he was satisfied. So, he'd grab her hand, saying, "Please, don't go to Auri." Whenever he remembered her being close to Auri, he lost his will to live for some reason. It had been affecting his work, so he was trying to figure out what to do. The air slowly grew tense. Heartbeats raced. This was the first time he had ever felt like this. He promised to keep doing his best, even if it meant licking boots and eating garbage. Tamon would do anything to make her happy. She immediately pulled back, telling him not to say things like that. Thinking he was just tired, she asked him to return to his apartment, and as she was walking out, he'd pull her back, embracing her warmly. No matter how much of a failure he was, he just wanted her to remain his fan. Otherwise, he would die. Wait, is this a love confession or some kind of threat? For Utage, it felt like the latter. She promised to always be his fan. The thought that he was holding her like this was too much for her, but he'd even tighten his grip. He then let her go, apologizing for his actions. The anxiety had gone to him all of a sudden. He had no idea what he'd do if her bias changed. Right now, she was looking at the usual gloomy Hara, and she could tell what Hari Hara looked like as well. But the side she saw just now, was this Tamon's B-side? Or something else. Dang, she said the title of the show, trying to make sense of it all. Her head exploded. Looking down from the heavens, she realized not being the center must have really gotten to him. Regardless, she would always continue supporting Tamon. Kato would come up to the rooftop, and upon seeing the situation, he left, deciding this had nothing to do with him. The following day, during Face's commercial, they thanked their fans for all the support. With Kato as the new center, he was asked how he felt about it. He was the leader of the group because he was the oldest, and now becoming the center, he felt a bit nervous. But of course, he'd do his best, and also get advice from Tamon too. As for Tamon, who had been switched out of the center, he was a bit disappointed, but he thought Kato would be able to pull it off, despite being an airhead. And to his girlfriends all over the world, he would show them a new side of Tamon Fukuhara that they'd never seen before. A new side of Face was coming, and everyone also awaited the release of their new song, Rain. After the commercial, Kato would show his real personality, as he scrolled through his fans' comments. Things were going according to plan. To him, the fans were just fools who were easy to manipulate. Oh god, he's actually a cocky, manipulative sociopath. The difference in his persona was so intense that it creeped Auri out. Kato would then ask Auri about the mysterious girl he saw with Tamon. Auri would try to deny it, but he couldn't fool Kato with his lousy lying. Kato wondered if she was the reason Tamon's condition had been so volatile lately. However, Auri made one thing clear. He was going to make her fall for him someday. The rest of the information didn't matter to him. She was an obsessive Tamon fangirl, and also his housekeeper. Hearing she was a fangirl seemed to rub Kato the wrong way. Utage was coming back to work at Tamon's place after some time. She hoped he had gotten over the shock of losing the competition for the center. Getting inside, she saw him completely burned on the ground. At least, it was the usual gloomy Hara. She immediately cleaned him up and got him looking normal again. The weak flour he was using had somehow exploded. However, she quickly took notice of his new apron. He apologized for trying to stay clean, But Utage felt the apron was so blessed to be getting that close to him and protecting him. Apparently, he was trying to make a cake to thank her for all the support she'd shown. But no way, she couldn't possibly accept it. Instead, she asked him to focus on his physical and mental health for the future. This only made him believe no one would want to eat something he made, but she'd make it clear that if it were a cake he made, it'd be a gâteau à chocolat. Utage had definitely made cakes for her biases, but she never thought a day would come when the roles would be reversed. After going through the steps, he started the process of sifting the weak flour through a sifter, but he was terrible at this. No wonder a dust explosion happened earlier. Next, he needed to melt the butter in hot water. He ended up dumping the whole butter, causing it to splash on him. Utage decided to watch him from the side, so she could keep a better eye on him. Looking at Tamon reminded Utage of when she baked him a cake. On his birthday, his fans made him cakes. It's not like he could actually eat them, but they made him very happy. The cakes were special. Hearing this brought tears to her eyes. She thought she was sure his fans around the world would sob hearing him say that. After all, they all made the cakes filled with their love. He'd put all his feelings into making this cake as well, hoping she'd be able to deliciously enjoy it and keep coming over forever. He hoped she'd never hate him, never betray him, or cheat on him. Suddenly spiraling into a scary mood, he prayed she'd never show any interest in the rest of humanity for all her life. He swore to make it delicious. At this point, Utage feared for her life. He was becoming so obsessive. He was getting better, but was still acting weird. Time passed, and the oven beeped, signaling the cake was ready. Bringing it out, it looked like an ominous creation. On the other hand, Utage was thrilled to see a homemade cake that her bias made. She planned to freeze it and make it her gravestone. Tamon asked her to eat, but she declined because she was still working, and that made him very sad. Still, she couldn't let herself eat it. On her way to the bathroom, he'd block the door, switching to Harihara. He'd tell her again to eat it, even if it was just a bit. His charm sparkled as he softly held her face. Utage was flush, trying to steady her breath. Feeding her, Tamon would say, "Accept it, all my love." She couldn't resist, so she finally ate it. And as expected, it had no taste. After working, she'd sit down to enjoy the cake with him. This was the first time someone had gifted her a whole cake on a completely random day. As she ate it, he stared at her intensely, like his mind was gone. She said it was delicious, and he seemed relieved to hear that. All this while, she'd been treating him like a cute little puppy. But lately, his strange behaviors had her worried that he might not even be from this planet. Recalling what happened earlier, she assumed he flipped his switch on purpose, knowing she wouldn't be able to resist. Looking back on it, this wasn't the first time this happened. It's almost been normal to be so close to him. He was a super idol who put people everywhere under his spell, and he was just playing a character he created to do just that. Meaning, finessing one fangirl would be nothing to him, and he definitely finessed Utage. Refusing to let this escalate, she decided to start going home quickly. The distance needed to be maintained. Being overprotective wasn't always love. She needed him to be able to survive on his own. Seeing frosting on her face, Tamon would try to wipe it off, but she asked him to stay back. Suddenly, he flipped the switch again, licking the frosting clean off. Once again, she'd fall for it. He was sulky, gloomy, and always sensitive to others' moods, and that was what made him a sharpshooter. Tamon had always been like that. He figured she'd be okay with what he just did because she thought he was hot. Something dark was awakening in him. Oh man, we got a third guy going for Utage's heart, and Tamon is diving deep into the depths of obsessive depravity for her. Ladies, would you like that? I'm curious. Let me know. Subscribe to keep up with next week's part, but for now, watch this next video. It's me, Comfy T. I'll see you all in the next one.